I'm a legal director at the CMA. I've worked on a number of our enforcement projects over quite a few years. So we've investigated everybody in the chain. So we've been concerned about brands and what brands do, because obviously if you know your business better than I do. If you're a brand, you want to get your message out. Well, you're responsible for the message which gets out at the end of the day. Even if you don't have, strictly speaking, editorial control over that message, you've got a whole load of people who are acting in your name or on your behalf. And so we would hold you ultimately responsible for what's going on there. And we would expect brands to have some controls in place to make sure that their messages which are being promulgated by other people are lawful and not misleading. If the bags were gifted, she should make it clear she is promoting these items in exchange for a freebie. So you can see that there is an element of skepticism that's beginning to creep in, but you can also see the pernicious effect, we would say, of this kind of non-disclosure. That here is somebody who is not actually displaying the authentic lifestyle, it could be said, that they're purporting to display, because they didn't actually buy this item for themselves. They're not, remember that banned practice about falsely representing oneself as a consumer. Here's an influencer saying, this is my life, this is the life that I lead, these are the things that I use. But that's not true. Now, if it were true, that would be actually quite good, wouldn't it? You manage to get your product out there. Somebody who's got a lot of influence is using your product and they're enjoying using it. That's authentic marketing. The idea that you just send a load of freebies to people who put it on, take some pictures, and then maybe they sell the item later, which some people do, or you pay them to post something, that is not authentic. So it ends up being misleading. Lack of professional diligence. And this is, in addition to misleading actions, misleading omissions and the banned practices, this is the idea that brands really need to take responsibility for what's going on. So this is permitting activities to carry on which are going to influence people's decision making in an unlawful way, so that people are getting confused. People are not, they don't know what's an advert and what isn't an advert, and you need to do more to control that. So it's a lot of the time when we're investigating practices, we're not just relying on that's an outright lie or this is, some key information is missing, but we're also saying, well, what more should you have done to make sure that people down the stream are not engaging in unlawful practices. The standard of protection is the average consumer. What does the average consumer recognize? And the average consumer recognizes certainly hashtag advertisement would be a disclosure, hashtag ad maybe. Hashtag ad, however, hidden amongst other text or hashtags, no, it's too easy to miss.
In terms of the ASA and the CMA, will they be only concerned with the company rather than the influencer?
So the CMA will be concerned with everybody in the chain. So the influencer we'd be concerned about because they've published something which is an unlawful post, right? So in principle, we're interested in them. We're interested in the brand or the marketing company because, well, what are they doing to police their contract? So you can put something in the contract and everybody understands that no one's going to comply with the contract and you're not going to enforce it. And that would be equally pernicious as not having anything in the contract at all. So we'd want you to be doing something to check up on influencers.
We understand that there's a huge pros to using social media, but there are specific risks, and there's a lot of view at the moment, especially by some pretty hefty brands, L'Oreal, etc., that have got huge concerns about the number of fake followers, and that this is starting to impact influencer marketing as a whole. Every single platform says that you have to include your link, or at least not a clickable link, but the URL to the terms and conditions, and you have to protect their data and their privacy. So looking at the specific platforms themselves, this is what you can ask people to do on Facebook. What I would say is that if you're only asking them to like or react to a post, there is no timestamp. So if you're saying you have to enter by a midday on Saturday, when you come in on Monday morning to extract those entries, there's no way of you knowing if somebody entered on a Sunday. And technically, they shouldn't be entered into that prize draw because they've entered outside the promotional period. So absolutely ask them to make that reaction, but ask for a comment as well. Ask them to do something where you can physically see exactly when they've entered. So some good examples of some posts that we've got on here. We've got some summary terms up there. UK only, closes at 11:59 a.m. on the 22nd of December. People are really clear as to what age, when I need to enter and what my prize is. Some bad examples is here, you have to do a million different things. There's no terms and conditions, and unfortunately it wasn't the best run promotion. Moving on to Twitter. regardless of your characters. We all know that URLs aren't included in a character count anymore, so there is zero excuse for you not to be using your link to your terms and conditions. And you still have to have your very basic summary terms, like the ones that we saw: UK 18 plus, enter buy, prizes and iPad. And the same tweet posting to get entry again and again and again as a definition of spammy behaviour. They don't like it. If you saw someone reposting the same thing 50 times, chances are you're going to get rid of them as a friend, or at least mute them. Instagram. So you can comment under a promotional post and you can like it. You can comment or mention a friend underneath. So they're not so worried about you tagging individuals. But what they do to dissuade a brand from doing something like that is they have an API in the background which prevents you from using a data extraction tool well enough to be able to capture every entry. So the first 120 likes and the first 150 comments only. Thereafter, that tool is not going to be able to capture any of those entries. So basically what that means is you're going to have some poor intern that's going to sit there and manually extract every entry into a spreadsheet for you to be able to pass the data on to have an independent draw. For the love of God, please don't do a Snapchat promotion ever. They are just impossible to manage, because anybody that's submitting you an image, as we know, it has a real short time frame in order to be able to be visible. And again, that poor intern that's doing all of your manual extractions from Instagram is going to be the same person that's going to be doing screenshots of every single entry.
Is there any sort of suggested wording, such as, while stocks last for a limited time?
If you as a brand haven't got accurate forecasting and verifiable forecasting that's not just a finger in the air kind of thing, saying stocks last will not cover you. So if you know that you've run this promotion before, or what your sales figures are for that period of time in previous years, and you haven't done a significant amount of uplift, bearing in mind the amount of marketing and advertising that you're doing surrounding it, then absolutely subject to availability will not cover you. And there have been rulings by the ASA that have deemed these brands uncompliant. If you happen to come across the next fidget spinner as your gadget, your gift to give along with the purchase of a brand, and it does go berserk and you have uplifted by 200% and you've stated in your terms and conditions, subject to availability, maximum 10,000 units, then absolutely that will cover you.